lot of the times when I'm talking to people about my neighborhood, they're like, oh, it's a very violent place. And I'm like, it's not. It's a beautiful place.
When Nancy Meza talks about her neighborhood, she talks about the food, the people, and the pollution. She's lived most of her life in Little Village on the west side of Chicago, where, as a community organizer, she raises awareness about the decades of environmental contamination affecting the area.
40% of our neighborhood is dedicated to industrial land. Literally in your backyard, we have this really toxic industry. We have the second worst air quality than the rest of the state of Illinois.
I mean, you can smell it in the air, right?
Yes. You know, you kind of see the environmental racism.
One of the threats Little Village has to contend with is its lead lines. The pipes that bring water from underground water mains to people's homes and taps. When disturbed, damaged, or stagnant, lead can leach into people's drinking water, causing irreversible damage, especially in children whose brains are still developing. One estimate suggests that more than 90% of single-family homes in the area might be getting their water from lead lines.
A lot of people don't actually drink from their tap water or use it for cooking. They mainly use it for cleaning, washing, and if they have to cook with it, they'll like boil it or buy water bottles or have like some other filtration system.
And why is that?
They just don't trust the water. Sometimes in the mornings it's very funky, but it'll have this weird yellowish color.
Chicago's lead pipe problem is one of the reasons people in Little Village don't trust the water. The city required lead pipes in new homes until 1987. So Chicago has an estimated 400,000 lead lines, nearly 6 times more than the entire state of California. The mayor campaigned to replace them.
Lead service lines are a legacy issue that we need to start chipping away at now.
And there is a plan that's beginning to take shape. But so far, unless removed by the homeowner, all original lead lines remain intact. And the city estimates that, including restoration, it could cost between $15,000 and $26,000 per line to replace.
Has the city done anything to help Little Village and to help its community?
I think the city has tried on their own terms.
The person who's currently in charge of fulfilling the city's promises is Andrea Chang.
The water coming out of the taps of people who live in Chicago, is that water safe?
Absolutely. I get that question a lot, you know, and I always tell people I have 5 kids and we do not use a filter, we use tap water.
When the city says that the water is safe, they mean overall. So that doesn't mean an individual home can't have a potential lead issue. In 2020, 60% of the 3,300 homes tested had at least some lead in the water. And the EPA is clear. No level of lead is considered safe in drinking water.
What exactly is the city's plan?
We are starting in phases. Phase 1 is this year. We created 3 programs for phase 1. And the first one is our equity lead service line replacement program. It has to have a low-income homeowner.
So meaning that renters...
Correct. That's the
that
downside.
doesn't count. Right?
Downside renters cannot be eligible for that program.
More than half of the households in Little Village are renters, which means that they rely heavily on their landlord's willingness to pay to remove the lines. Still, at least some residents may see some changes this summer. Existing water infrastructure issues means the Department of Water Management has to dig up a block in the area. So the city is running a pilot program to remove lead lines at the same time.
Is that actually possible to remove all these lead lines in the city? Because I think the timeline as it stands is 500 years, right?
If you take the number we're doing this year and multiply it, yes, it would take 500 years, but we're ramping up. If you look at our breaks and leaks alone, assuming that we would do lead service line replacement with those, that's 4,000 to 5,000 a year, right there.
At that rate, it would still take more than 85 years to remove the lines. But cities like Chicago might be getting some help.
Your country is calling you to rebuild America.
As part of President Biden's American Jobs Plan, the administration has proposed putting $47 billion toward removing the 6 to 10 million lead lines across the country. The town of Bennington in Vermont knows firsthand that it'll take more than just money to make that happen.
We ain't gotta go back anymore, Cal. Just clean that pipe off again.
Can I hand you a swab? As he basically washes the pipe off with that swab, it'll react if we get anything.
React red if it turns
Bright red. Bright red. Yeah, we got the yellow. All right. Good. Perfect. There's that yellow.
So this here is a lead service line.
Oh, okay.
This is one that's been changed out.
So is this the kind of pipe that's bringing water to people's homes?
Yes, this was active within the last month.
Is that safe to touch?
No.
No?
Yes, it is. I just gotta wash my hands after.
Bennington was founded in 1749, and until 1940, lead lines were commonplace. In 2017, with an $11 million grant from the state of Vermont, the town started a lead replacement program. Why did the town decide that this was an important thing to do?
Once we found out where all the lead was, we realized that it was a big problem and we needed to pursue to try to remove as much as we could.
The town's initiative would replace lines at no cost to homeowners. But there were still a few major problems. The first is that, like many places across the country, big and small, Bennington had basically no idea which homes got their water from lead lines or where the lines were even buried. So this is the map room?
This is the map room.
Oh, whoa. The solution? Study the town's old maps, ask the city's most tenured employees, and sift through long-lost records dating back to the 1880s, which were found by accident.
This is a map of Bennington in 1894.
How does this map help you figure out where the lead lines are?
You can see like Adams Street here had all the houses on it in 1894. So if there was a water main there, then those houses are gonna be lead.
To scan and compile all this information and then excavate the lines, the town hired a firm called MSK Engineers, which identified 800 lead lines. Finding the lines was just step one. Even though the removal was free and MSK was offering to deliver test kits door to door, homeowners still needed to be convinced. What was the process like for getting people to say yes to you digging up their property and switching out their water lines?
What we tried to do is to structure the entire process so somebody could complete it from their couch. When you're standing in somebody's kitchen and watching their stomach fall into their shoes as you're telling them that you're finding poison infrastructure in their basement, it's really difficult for people. People feel guilty, they feel like it's their fault, they don't know what's going to happen. We were in the position to turn that message on its head and say, you might have this problem, I'd like to remove it for you. It's hard to go hunting for a problem that you think you might not have, but would be hugely consequential if you did. That's just fundamentally difficult to do.
This is exactly what communities like Chicago's Little Village fear.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Even once you know you have this problem, you still might have to face the fact that there isn't much you can do about it.
So this is home?
Yes, this is my home.
Have you ever had your water tested for lead?
I have not, because I think for me, it's like, if we test our water, it comes back positive, like what happens then? We don't own our home, we rent it, so the liability will be on the owner to want to fix it.
In some ways, what you're telling me is that you'd rather not know, right? That's what you're telling me.
Because if you know, then I think a lot of it is, it's like what do you do then?
How big of a problem does the U.S. have when it comes to lead in its drinking water systems?
The problem's big. Right? I think we've heard numbers estimated anywhere from 6 to 10 million lead service lines in the ground around the country. And I think it's something that people don't think about much because they don't see the
Right.
physical infrastructure under the ground.
Do most cities know where these lead lines are?
Most water systems have not been required to do some sort of inventory to find out where their lead service lines are. So they would have, no reason to know. And many of them keep bad records or have no records at all.
So if we don't know where these lead lines are, and we have this $45 billion from the federal government, can we remove all of the lead lines from the entire country?
I think it's absolutely possible. It does require, strong action from the federal government, right? It's not just about the funding, which is significant to do it, but it's about having a strong lead and copper rule that mandates the replacement of lead service lines, that also mandates an inventory so that we can find out where the lead service lines are.
Let's talk timeline then. Like, how long is this going to take?
One thing we've heard come from the Biden administration is 10 years. I don't know whether that's feasible or not, right? But what I do know is that the work needs to start now. There's nothing more important than the physical health and well-being of the people in our nation.